honor women leaders around the globe. But Diane isn't here tonight, and there's a very good reason. It's because she is being honored for this very work of lifting so many voices, mentoring so many women and emerging leaders around the world. She's being honored for a lifetime of achievement of service by the President of Belgium, and all of us wish her well. And I know that she is sending positive vibes and huge congratulations to our 5 honorees. So here we are again, of course, virtually. We hope to be back together in person for Pitch Night. We know that it's not night everywhere, but for those of you who are new to this event, just a little bit about the WE Empower UN SDG Challenge. It really is the first of its kind global business competition for women entrepreneurs. And really together with our partners, what we do is each year we search the world for women who have a daring vision for change. These are women who are using their businesses, often social enterprises, to advance the UN SDGs. And our team at Vital Voices, at ASU, our panel of judges from all over the world read through hundreds upon hundreds of applications to each year select just 5, one from each of the major UN regions. And you're about to meet our 2021 honorees. Just wait for their pitches. I'm a big believer, as many of you know, that women are not just sort of an economic force, although we are, but we are not just another number in the economy to be tapped. We are truly a global force. We are a force for innovation and a force for good. And these honorees represent exactly that. As many of you know, at Vital Voices, we invest in women who are taking on the world's greatest challenges, and they together create a more equitable and sustainable world. And one thing we are so clear about, and it's why partnership is in our name, is that it wouldn't be possible without extraordinary partners who really step up and work side by side with us to make this program and so much of what we do throughout the year possible. So a huge special thank you to Arizona State University, and particularly one of our founders, Ambassador Amanda Ellis. Also to Bank of America, Bank of Montreal, Diane von Furstenberg, Grow Your Biz, Hawaii Tropical Botanical Gardens, Mary Kay, Oxford Saeed Business School, P&G, Salesforce, the United Nations Foundation, and the World Bank Group. I mean, with this group of partners, we can do anything. And quite frankly, we need to do so much because, as we all know, women have been disproportionately impacted over these past 18 months. It has been hard for so many of us, but we've also seen women rise up. And today, you know, as we think about these extraordinary 5 leaders, as they move us forward, we are also thinking about those that we have lost over these past 18 months. And we are really saddened to share with you today that 2 of our We Empower community members actually passed in these past 18 months. 2 of our previous awardees and truly members of our larger Vital Voices network and family, Dr. Shimrit Perkel-Finkel, who many of you will remember is just this beautiful spirit, who her legacy certainly lives on, but really working for a stronger environment through her organization, E-Concrete. And Mavis Mdakwa, who is an inspiring leader. She was here with us last year presenting the work that she does with bees. In their honor, we're launching 2 additional awards tonight for We Empower finalists. These are extraordinary leaders who could have been honorees, but you know, we can only take 5. So they are women that we wanted to provide some special support to, and we believe are actually living out the legacy of both Shimrit and Mavis through their work to tackle the SDGs. So we're proud to be able to honor Shimrit and Mavis's memory. The Mavis Mdakwa SDG Impact Award, which is $2,500, will go to 2021 finalist Marisol Villalobos. And she is with us in the audience today. So huge congratulations to you, Marisol. She's the founder and CEO of Amasar, an agricultural company leveraging locally grown breadfruit to grow Puerto Rico's economy while fighting poverty, hunger, and climate change. And the Dr. Shimrit Perkel-Finkel SDG Excellence Award, also of $250,000 grant. I'm sorry, $2,500. Sorry, $2,500 grant will go to the 2020 finalist, Ina Braveman, founder of EcoWave Power, a green energy company in Israel as well that's leveraging technology to produce clean, affordable energy from oceans and sea waves. And again, those awards are both $2,500. So congratulations to both of our grant recipients. We're so amazed by the work that you do and truly inspired. So now to kick off this incredible program, our wonderful MC, I want to welcome back to the virtual stage the extraordinary editor-in-chief of Fast Company, the incomparable Stephanie Mehta.
Thank you so much, Elise. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. This is one of my favorite events of the year. And so I'm thrilled to be back for the 4th year as the MC. And we're really excited that you're able to join us virtually for the Global Business Competition for Women Entrepreneurs who are advancing the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And more importantly, inspiring entire communities to act and create the world that we want to live in. Today, each of these women will be giving their 3-minute pitch, and you, as an audience, will get to vote on an awardee who will receive $20,000. I want to make sure I get that number right, $20,000 from Diane von Furstenberg. So stay online and get ready to vote. Our experts are here to ask some additional probing questions and dig into the awardees' businesses and future plans, but it's ultimately up to you, our audience, to pick the winner. We are excited to have we're excited to have a good number of leading business women to help us as experts. Let me introduce Cheryl Atkins Green. Cheryl is Chief Marketing Officer at Mary Kay. Hi, Cheryl. We have Jamila Belabid Shahid, who is the Global Purchases Director at Procter & Gamble. Hi, Jamila. Julie Hansen is Global Executive Advisor at Salesforce. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Stephanie and everyone.
Karen Fang, Managing Director and Global Head of Sustainable Finance, Bank of America. Welcome, Karen. And Lisa Milburn, Chief Marketing and Communications Officer, BMO Wealth Management and Executive Sponsor, BMO for Women. Hi, Lisa. So thank you all for joining us today. And it's time to get started with our first pitch. I'd like to bring up OLUFUNTO BOROFFICE, who is the founder and CEO of Chanja Datti, a waste collection and recycling social enterprise based in northern Nigeria. Now, this organization's goal is to diversify revenue by adding a manufacturing vertical using recycled material to produce household products. OLUFUNTO, can you go ahead and unmute and share your pitch?
Thank you, Stephanie. In Hausa, the language of northern Nigeria, Chanja Datti means change dirt. This is what we're doing. We're transforming waste into value. I grew up on a university campus where both my parents were professors. Education changes the way we see. At university, I studied accounting, and then I got a master's in financial management. So I learned to see. Waste is a commodity. It's not just trash. Take a plastic bottle. If you throw it on the ground, it won't degrade for 400 to 1,000 years. If we take the same plastic bottle, we crush it, wash it, and then put it in a machine that melts it down. After cooling, another machine cuts the clean plastic into small beads. Now, anyone who wants to make new buckets or new bowls or new plates can buy those same small beads, put it in their molding machine, and that molding machine melts it down again, and it takes the shape of whatever the mold is. So whether it's a new bucket, a new bowl, a chair, anything. Instead of new raw materials, we can use what we already have. We collect everything, plastics, paper, cardboards, even old tires. And we have locations where people can bring their recyclable materials and earn money and incentives. The value that they are able to get also changes the way that people see their trash. We also see waste as a tool as a currency for social good. In Nigeria, over 13 million children are out of school, mostly because they cannot afford the fees. So we started Chanja Datti. Also, we started Bottles for Books, where people can recycle their throwaways and send a child to school. Since 2015, we've diverted over 5 million kilograms of waste from the landfill. With your help, our next big leap is that we'll be manufacturing household goods from the recycled plastic materials, something simple like a bucket or a bowl. And this allows us to double our positive impact in under 2 years. Imagine how it changes the way people see their trash when they can exchange it for value, to send a child to school, buy simple necessities, or just put some extra cash in their pockets. Thank you.
Thank you, OLUFUNTO. For the next portion of the pitch contest, I'm going to call on a couple of our different experts who have questions. Experts, if you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll ask you to unmute. And then I'm keeping strict time. We've got 5 minutes. So Jamila, can you unmute and ask your question for OLUFUNTO?
Sure. Well, first I wanted to congratulate OLUFUNTO. I mean, she has a phenomenal business model here. I wish you really a lot of success. But I also would love to understand, the market in Nigeria for recycling. Most likely it must be a growing market. So how are you tapping into this growth?
Thank you, Jamila, for that question. In Nigeria, you're correct that recycling is a growing market. There's a need now for a lot of resources. I mean, COVID has sort of changed the way we access materials. So there's a lot more manufacturing happening in Nigeria versus days where things were shipped to China for manufacturing. And so what Chanja Datti wants to do is to actually be on the forefront of being able to tap into what we're seeing in terms of the manufacturing. We also want to make sure that we stop some of the import of recycled plastic household goods from China, because we see that as a way to mop up additional waste in our environment, but most importantly, to be able to create jobs. And again, the only way we can do this, honestly, is by access to capital. So for us, the way we're tapping into this, honestly, is by creating the manufacturing vertical of our business, creating additional jobs, and actually also providing incentives for our collectors and our recyclers. Thank you.
Other questions for OLUFUNTO? Lisa, can you unmute and ask your question for OLUFUNTO?
Absolutely. Wow, an inspiring and innovative pitch. Thank you so much. I'd love to know a little bit more about how you're raising awareness to reduce waste.
Thank you, Lisa, for that question. We're raising awareness I'll just mention 3 ways that Chanja Datti so far has been raising awareness. The first is we're using media, both social and print and radio jingles, to spread the message, mainly because, especially in Northern Nigeria, most people, especially the radio angle, most people listen more to the radio. The second is by offering incentives. In a place like Nigeria, especially post-COVID, where there's a lot of people who've lost their source of livelihood, the opportunity to be able to recycle the recyclable waste and earn some additional income is very important, and we are making sure that we do that. And the final one is by targeting school-age children. We believe that once we are able to get the children onto the bandwagon, it becomes part and parcel of their day, and they grow up with it. So as they grow, they become change makers and change agents, and they're also able to, get their parents and uncles and aunties and teachers to buy in and to make sure that they also recycle. So those are just some of the ways that currently we're, sensitizing and raising awareness around recycling. Thank you.
Thank you, OLUFUNTO. We have time for one more question. Do we have one more question? Julie, go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Thanks, Stephanie. From a supply chain perspective, I understand you're going to build a manufacturing facility to be able to make the bowls that you referenced. Today, in order to pay the people who are bringing in the recycling, which is an amazing concept to recycle, bring it in and get paid for it, to fund someone through school with books. What does your supply chain look like today in terms of where is the paper going, the plastic pellets, et cetera, and how are you expanding that from a scale perspective while you're waiting to build the facility?
Thank you, Julie. So right now we actually do, we probably process over 200 tons of plastic waste a month. And so we have a deep network in terms of our value chain, based on our relationship with waste pickers, or what they call scavengers. And so what we do is we literally buy our waste from most of those people. We've also recently launched an app called Recycoin, because we want to move from just buying waste from the landfills and actually penetrating people's households. And so one of the things that our Recycoin app is doing is that it's going to allow people to be able to pay for their electricity bill, or pay for their subscription for their internet plan. Right now, we process plastic materials and we sell them to off-takers. So we're probably 2/3 of the way into the value chain. The missing piece, or the last mile for us, is not having our own equipment to actually be able to manufacture the household material. So we actually sell to those who actually manufacture. And since that is already happening, we feel like we can close that gap by having our own equipment to be able to manufacture our household goods. Like I mentioned earlier on as well, this manufactured household products are being imported for the most part from China and other Asian countries today. And we feel that that is a big gap that we can currently fill. So all in all, I feel like we have, we've done a market analysis. We've been in existence for 6 years. We have a very deep relationship with waste pickers right now. We're trying to penetrate the households and collection from them directly. And we believe that if we are able to do all this, we will have the necessary materials in terms of our supply chain to be able to scale up our manufacturing arm and be able to start producing our household goods. Thank you.
Thank you, OLUFUNTO. Best of luck to you, and thank you for that inspiring pitch. Now I'd like to invite Nidhi Pant, who is co-founder of S4S Technologies, which is a company that helps farmers earn extra income by converting crops to value-added products using its patented, award-winning solar dehydration technology. And Nidhi is about to launch a $10 million Series A round. Nidhi, can you go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us about your business?
Thank you, Stephanie. Born in Himalayas to a family of farmers, our blessings and misfortunes ironically went hand in hand. We had enough land to till, but there was never enough money to support the fertile piece of land. Growing up, I was frustrated to see, at one end, the amount of waste on the farm, and on the other hand, seeing farmers never getting the right price for the produce and living in poverty. India loses food worth $14 billion every year, and 26 million farmers live in poverty, earning less than $2 per day. Also, in India, women are not qualified as farmers as they do not have any land holding. Due to patriarchy, the land goes to the male member, who is either the husband or the brother. I was fortunate to be educated and use my chemical engineering degree to found S4S, which stands for Science for Society, where we use scientific knowledge in service of people. S4S helps landless women farmers transform into micro-entrepreneurs by providing them the right combination of technology, access to finance, and market linkage. We convert farm losses to value-added products. We buy the cosmetically damaged produce, which would have not got the right price, and our women micro-entrepreneurs process the produce at the village level using the equipments given by us. We then aggregate this processed produce, which is with a longer shelf life, and sell them as food ingredients to large packaged food companies like Nestle and Sodexo, while reducing wastage and also providing assured additional income directly in the hands of the women farmers. These women now find a new identity in their family, as they are now the breadwinners of the family and have greater participation in decision making. All of this is done using our solar power technology, which is very easy to use and designed keeping women farmers at the center. We currently work with 800 micro entrepreneurs and 12,000 farmers, and doing this in the most financially sustainable way with an annual recurring revenue of $2.5 million. Our solution does good for all the environment by reducing more than 1 million tons of CO2 from the environment, and also saving 40,000 tons of food from getting wastage. We help farmers make more money and customers reduce costs. And all of this with integrating more women into leadership positions and getting them an assured additional income of $1,000 to $1,500 annually. We invite you to join us in this journey of building an equitable and sustainable so- society where we are standing with the poor, listening to the voice unheard, and recognizing potential where others see despair. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Nidhi. I'm sure our experts have some questions. Let's see. Cheryl, did you unmute? I'm going to go ahead and let you go first. So go ahead and ask your question of Nidhi.
Yes, thank you so much. Certainly a very exciting venture. I love the fact that you're empowering women. Could you share a little bit more, though, about what it takes to help a woman see herself differently, how you help her build her confidence to take on a much more important role in her family and in the community?
Definitely. Thanks, Cheryl, for the question. This is first, most importantly, when her family is in her support. So, apart from the women being an important stakeholders, it's very important to have, because most of them stay in a joint family, to have the mother-in-law, father-in-law, and support from her husband to be completely for her to be involved in the business. This is just the one way. Second, when they actually see that the ingredients that they make in soup, in ketchup, in different products, they find a new identity where they are so proud of that their products are now reaching so many and consumed by so many people. That's another way where we are constantly engaging with them and sensitizing them about the quality that needs to be there. And that's where she's deriving her confidence that her product is actually reaching so many people. And the third and the most important is the peer network. We work with 20 villages in one village, where other women are her support group. Her peer group is actually the one that is encouraging her to do better. And if there are any challenges, they are the ones who are solving this together. So these are some of the ways that the women actually see themselves deriving their confidence from.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Karen, could you unmute and ask your question of Nidhi?
Thank you. This is actually fascinating. So I wanted to understand, I think you're about to raise a Series A, and congratulations in getting to that milestone. I think it's a fascinating business. Can you just enlighten us on lower grade produce? You talked about the reducing waste and obviously enhancing revenues for the farmers. Can you just talk about how this dehydration technology, in terms of kind of like just on the revenue proposition for the farmers, by essentially not wasting and doing that, and why are large supply chain customers like Nestle and Sodexo, like the demand, speak to the demand side as well, because I think that's actually hugely interesting, really for a global scale.
Thank you, Karen. That's a very interesting question. Firstly, in any farming practice, there are various grades of produce. What we consume on the tabletop is the A grade produce, which the nutrition is intact. And in B and C grade produce, there are sometimes some spots. It is pressed somewhere due to grading, sorting, metal deduction. You can actually do various grades of this produce, and it can also be done visually. So if you get various grades of the produce, the B and C grade produce never is accepted in the market, and the B and C grade produce, sometimes that cost varies. So for the B and C grade produce, it does not fetch the right price in the market. Sometimes because the transportation cost is greater than the value of produce because of distant markets. So farmers have two options. Either they can grade and sort their produce, and the B and C grade produce are just left for their own consumption. This is the perishable produce, so the shelf life is also not is more than 15 days. And in second case, if they don't grade and sort the produce, they get a lower price. So if something is sold for $2, and if it is not graded, he would get $1.50 only. So that's what is the challenge of the supply chain, which has the B and C grade produce also. Second is that how it is helping as a revenue for the farmers. They if they grade, they can sell A grade to connect to the directly in the market, and the B and C grade S4S buys directly at the farm gate from them. So this is actually preventing them from wasting any produce, and they have an assured that now B and C grade supply is also enhanced, so I can go for grading the produce. The other supply chain, the other part, which is the market part, where the large packaged food companies, it's very important for them to have the right quality. So it does not matter to them whether it is in a decentralized manner or a centralized manner, but what matters to them is the color, aroma, flavor, and the size. Everything matches. The particulate matter is not there, the microbial content is not there. So solar dehydration removes water, increases the shelf life, so you don't have to have any sort of energy put in to store the produce. And our technology, we have done nutrition studies with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where we have seen that 85 to 95% of nutrition is intact in the process, and there is no losses at that end. And all of this is done using solar energy. So we have a differentiated supply chain which is decentralized and powered by women, but is able to match the market demand. And that is something which is most important to the customers, and that is one of our major value addition as a company, that we can match what we prepare at the farm and what we develop at the lab, the new companies develop, and we can transfer it at the farm gate, and not have big centralized units do it, not have movement of goods from one place to another. When you dehydrate and remove water, your logistics cost also decreases, because you are transporting lesser amount of water, which is significant for those customers. So there is an economical value proposition, and also we meet all their quality standards.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. I know we have probably a lot of other questions, but unfortunately, we've got to move on. I've been kept to strict time. So thank you, Nidhi. Next up, we have Aline Sarah, who is co-founder and CEO of NaTakallam, a social enterprise that offers high-quality, curated language services delivered by refugees and their host communities through digital platforms. Aline, can you make sure you're unmuted and go ahead and deliver your pitch?
Thank you, Stephanie. My parents married amidst the bombings. When Lebanon was torn apart by sectarian violence, they were among the lucky ones. Newly married, they came to the US and they were welcome. But things have changed. Today, so much talk is of walls rather than bridges. In fact, today, over 82 million people are forcibly displaced from their homes. With climate change, an estimated 140 million more will become climate refugees. But national leaders don't have a plan. Instead, they turn to soldiers, checkpoints, walls to contain the situation rather than address it. But that isn't going to work, is it? What we need is urgent ways to both welcome and include refugees and foster understanding along the way. NaTakallam, my company, does just that. Operating at the intersection of millions of qualified refugees looking for work, a growing demand for language services, and the rise of the digital economy, we hire refugees as online tutors, teachers, and translators, providing them with income and a pathway to digital inclusion that connects them to the world. It's relatively simple. We hire someone like Noor, a Syrian refugee in Lebanon who is barred from the local economy, and we connect her to Kate, a language learner in the US, for weekly Arabic classes over Skype. On the one end, Kate gets affordable, flexible language practice, and Noor gets income, marketable skills, and a restored sense of dignity and purpose. They also become friends. Hundreds of learners have said that meeting with their Syrian tutor who is in a camp, meeting them for who they are, rather than what they hear in the news, has changed their perspective and their life. Beyond individuals, NaTakallam partners with schools and universities to bring learning to life, And we also deliver services to companies, NGOs, and international institutions such as Ben & Jerry's, Save the Children, even the UN. Today, rather than being passive recipients to aid, our refugee tutors and translators have earned over $1 million in revenue. But to scale, we must invest in our technology. $20,000 would go straight into that. The world is a different place than it was when my parents came to America. Some see it as a time to build walls, but we are building bridges. Join us.
Thank you so much, Aline. I'm going to turn things over to our experts for questions. Lisa, do you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question? And then I'll go to Julie.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Aline. It's a very exciting company that you have built. I'd love to hear more about how you reach the refugees. How do you talk to them about your company and attract them to think about coming on as a tutor? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. In a simple answer, we leverage our networks and our partnerships on the ground. To go into more depth, we were born out of Lebanon, being a journalist and having worked in the NGO space myself and with many of my colleagues. We have a network of on-the-ground NGOs that help us recruit and reach refugees. In addition, our work is focused on refugees who are skilled and connected. And so they are actually constantly looking for ways to earn an income. So while we started with Arabic, for example, we're known in the Arabic language community of refugees. So just to give you a sense, we are turning down refugee applications on a daily basis, unfortunately, that there's so much demand. So we reach them and we recruit them through our networks and through referrals. They go through a thorough recruitment process, interview process, because of course, quality control is critical. And we also use similar partnerships to get payments to them, as well as different types of new fintech technologies.
Great. Thank you, Aline. Julie, you had a question.
Hi, Aline. Thank you. Mine was around the quality of how you ensure that the teaching is there, and you somewhat answered that already. So I want to sort of expand on that and ask you a little bit more. When you're expanding to different languages and growing the business, what do you see as one of the biggest challenges based on what you've learned so far?
All right, so 2 questions. So I'll go a bit more in depth on the recruitment and the quality assurance. So we treat refugees as we would treat anyone we're hiring into our company. So they go through a recruitment process, an interview process, a testing process, of course, keeping in mind the conditions in which they are working. So there is a sensitivity to that, while also ensuring that they are, like anyone else, they want to deliver a service, and they, it's not because they're a refugee that they don't have the quality as well. So we also have a, typical, like any other company, we have user feedback mechanisms. We closely support the refugees we work with if we notice that they're not performing as well. We provide them with additional resources and training. We do that, the quality control, whether it's our tutoring services, whether it's our partnerships and trainings and education programs with schools and universities, because we have to live up to certain standards, especially with certain universities. And of course, for translation, we're delivering translation services, and translation is at a whole other level of technicality. So we have a quality control mechanism there where there is, refugees might do the work at the beginning, and then we have certified editors going over that. And so quality control is taken very seriously. With regards to your second question, could you just remind me what it was? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. What is your biggest challenge as you plan to scale based on what you've learned so far?
Right. So we currently offer 6 languages, and the way we've grown has been a combination of looking at the urgency from a humanitarian perspective and livelihood perspective. So we were born with a focus on Syrian refugees in Lebanon, and then gradually expanding, looking at the humanitarian side and also the market demand. So demand and supply. So we strategically expand based on our assessment of the needs. And we also make sure that, we're different from other language companies because we're not a catalog of languages, right? You can go to Duolingo, you can go to Italki, you can find any language you want. But actually, we are actually bringing in a cultural element to what we're doing, and also an understanding of, the sensitivities from a religious perspective, a sectarian conflict perspective, etc. So when we're growing, it is, we take the time to understand what's happening. So when we expanded to Latin America with Venezuelan refugees and Central Americans, we hired a Latin America consultant because our team was much more Francophone, Arabophone, Persian, Dari, etc. So I would say that's not a challenge in and of itself. Where we're a little stuck right now is so scaling is actually doable. The technology is where we need to invest, because the technology is the more kind of systematic thing that will help us grow and scale, because our team is struggling more now with having too many users for the manual systems we have in place.
Thank you, Aline. Again, I wish we could ask a few more questions, but I know we've got to keep on time. So thank you so much, Aline. We are now going to hear from Panmela Castro, who is founder and CEO of Panmela, Castro, Arte y Cultura, and Rede Nami, a social enterprise that utilizes art education, different arts media, and especially public graffiti murals to raise awareness of women's rights and the prevalence of domestic violence in Brazil. Panmela, just make sure you're unmuted and go ahead and deliver your pitch.
Okay, thank you, girls. I'm glad to be here with you today. And I would like to tell you that 17 years ago, my partner, who I expect to love me, he beat me all night long. The night I left him was the start of my mission to show women that we don't have to accept the violence in our life. Domestic violence is a power gap between men and women, but I learned there is no reason a woman cannot have power. So I started painting big murals of powerful women in the city. I understood that my voice through my paintings was my power. I became famous for public art. I began leading workshops for women that paint their truth, to talk about domestic violence, to show their power. Over 10 years, my organization, Rede Nami, has made a huge impact on how women see themselves. But it hasn't changed the way we are seen by others. The women I work with are not in the space of political power. We are still on the margins. And this is a common truth at the heart of our problems. Women, indigenous, people of color, LGBTQIA+, we are kept on the margins. Our research project by the feminist art collective Guerrilla Girls shows that at Met Museum, like most large art institutions, just 5% of artists from the collections are women. I can keep applying for grants to fund Rede Nami, but this puts our progress at the mercy of a power structure that does not include us. When my paints sell in a gallery, I finance the workshops by myself. But if they are in a museum, the power structure recognizes my legitimacy voice. That changes the values of my canvas and raises the power of my voice. I believe that when we are part of the power, not just the white men from the north, we lead the world in a different way, where power can be tool to make life better, more equal, and more just for everyone. My voice is my power. With your help, I want to bring that power into a space where it will be heard, not just for now, but for the rest of the history. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Panmela, for telling us your story. We have time for some questions from our experts, and Panmela has just asked that we speak slowly and clearly so that she can understand everybody and respond appropriately. Let's see, I saw Cheryl's hand up. Do you want to start, and then we'll go to Jamila?
Yes, thank you. I'm an art lover, so I love what you're doing. Could you please share an example of where an art project had perhaps a direct impact in terms of bringing about some change? Just wanting to understand a success story coming out of one of your projects.
Okay, for sure, my artwork alone works to make people thinking and change the way people think in the society. But I make a direct impact with the workshops we develop at Rede, Nami, my organization, because we have a methodology to use the art, especially the murals, the graffiti, to get into people. Because domestic violence is something that people really don't want to come, because the victims think that people will know that they are victims. The other girls think that it are not going to happen with them. But when we invited to make a graffiti workshop, everybody will come. Everybody loves to spray can. And it's a moment where I talk with them during 1 hour about our law, that's Maria da Penha law to protect women, and the tools to use it. And then people make nice paint in the wall, and what we learned is we will still be multiplying in the wall and through these people that participate in the workshop. And I have a case here, one of our students in the long-term workshop. Today, she is the secretary for women for Rio de Janeiro City.
Oh, wow.
This is what we do. We get girls from the favelas that are not thinking about their rights, and we transform them in political people to fight for our rights.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Amazing. Jamila, can you unmute and ask your question of Panmela?
Sure. I first wanted to say how, I'm fascinated by your example, Panmela. It's such a daring approach. It's really brave. You are bringing a very creative approach to face one of the most awful societal issues, which is violence against women. So really a big applause to you to drive this with fierce and with really resilience. Now you shared about what you love to see, right? Selling your art in the future. As we think about measurement, how would you measure success? Say in 10 years' time, where would you like to be? What do you want to see? And in facts or figures, if you want.
For sure, at Rede Nami, we have numbers of all the girls that we are working for, but we are having now in Brazil a really big problem with the political situation, and it's hard now to develop my work, especially because I'm pursued to use the word gender, that they are making mistakes with this, and I have difficulties to get funds from Brazil because I work with these themes that are being pursued. And what I'm trying to do is to get money through the sale of my canvas. Today, I work with one of the best galleries in Latin America, and we are putting museums like ICA, in Miami, Stedelijk Museum, and not just for me, but my students too. Just last week, we have an art fair, and three of the work special, one of our trans people went to the museum from Rio de Janeiro, and getting this artwork in the museum, I can get a high price and get more money and use this money to continue this work with no depends of these grants from the government or companies that are afraid to invest in projects that are working with gender situation in Brazil.
Thank you so much, Panmela. Again, I would love to keep going, but I'm mindful of the time as we do have one more pitch to hear. So thank you, Panmela. And now I'm excited to introduce Sara Saeed, who is co-founder and CEO of Sehat Kahani, an e-healthcare company in Pakistan that aims to democratize access to quality and affordable healthcare through an ICT-enabled solution and a network of qualified home-based women doctors. The company is launching a Series A round of fundraising, and she's overcoming cultural bias regarding large women-led businesses. Sara, can you unmute and go ahead and present your pitch?
Thank you, Stephanie. It's a pleasure to be here. My father was a police officer and my mother was a housewife, and they wanted me to become a doctor. When I first walked into my auditorium after my admission into my medical college, I saw that 280 out of 300 students were women. You see, there's a culture in Pakistan where parents want their daughters to become doctors. It actually has a name. It's called the doctor bride phenomena. Because women who become doctors in Pakistan get the best hand in marriage. All my life, my parents told me that you have to become a doctor. And then one day, society told me that you have to become a wife. You have to become a mother. 85,000 female doctors in Pakistan never practice after graduation and become doctor brides. I also got married, but I soon started my residency in radiology. Unfortunately, I got pregnant and I had to leave. Soon, my husband's job took us to a new city. This is when I actually realized that I had become a doctor bride myself. A new baby, a new house, and a husband who was away from 8 a.m. in the morning till 8 p.m. at night. I didn't know what to do because cooking and cleaning was never my thing. Stuck at home and in postpartum depression, I found a community clinic. They couldn't find a female doctor, so I started consulting over video. And suddenly it hit me. A female doctor sitting at home can provide consultations anywhere using technology. When we initially started, it was telemedicine in low-income community clinics. But as the idea started to work and spread, we also created an app for smartphone users, where any patient can connect to an online doctor in less than 60 seconds. When COVID came in Pakistan, the government reached out to us and they said that they needed patients to see online doctors from their home during the pandemic. Overnight, we scaled. From 60 patients on the app per day, we went to 1,000 patients. From 70 doctors, we went to 700 female doctors on the app within 3 months. Today, Sehat Kahani services employees of 753 corporations across Pakistan. We have the largest network of telemedicine clinics across the country, and our retail app is growing day by day. We're also the only female-led company in Pakistan who's trying to raise a Series A round. If we succeed, 10 million patients in the next 2 years, that's 5% of the population, will have access to quality and affordable healthcare wherever they are and whenever they need it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Sara. Let's bring up the experts. I'm going to start with Karen. I see you're already unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question.
I'm hugely inspired by this mission. I think telemedicine is here to stay. And I think connecting 85,000 female doctors that never practice and giving them, really fulfilling all the SDGs 35, 8, 10, it's just a phenomenal mission. I wanted to ask you about your growth plan and your Series A in terms of use of proceeds. Is it to run the operations better, develop a better app? Like, what do you intend to use the money for? And then the second question, it really is a practical question, which is, sounds like a lot of, women get the doctor license, but never practice. So how do you ensure that they receive the continuing education, that they actually had their residency or real on the ground experience to be able to give quality healthcare advice?
Thank you, Karen. These are both very important questions. So during the pre-Series A round, the most important idea that we had was to pilot all 3 services in the company, our clinical model for the low-income communities, as well as the app model for both corporate and retail users. Now, as we gear for our Series A, and inshallah, if we receive it by March 2022, we're going to expand our app operations and our clinical operations. So we plan to launch 50 more clinics in Pakistan, particularly in low-income areas where we haven't reached so far. We want to expand our B2B operations through insurance providers as well as private companies. And we really want to work on our B2C retail app operations because now the telemedicine density in Pakistan is increasing. There are many more players. And the smartphone users have increased from 70 million to 100 million in COVID. So we really believe that the retail market is one market that we need to invest in. Obviously, it requires marketing, it requires human resource, and it also requires adding additional revenue verticals. So in the B2C vertical, which is our retailer vertical, in which patients can reach out to a doctor individually, we're also adding an e-pharmacy and home healthcare services as well as lab referrals. So that when a patient comes to our application, they can connect to an online doctor, order their pharmacy, order their labs, and also get tertiary care referral within one window, and they don't have to go to a tertiary care hospital. Now, the second question I get a lot, a female doctor sitting at home coming back to work, how is she able to provide quality consultations? So since the very beginning, we've set a criteria that we hire doctors who have minimum 3-year experience post their house job, their graduation, and they're not out of the workforce for more than 3 years. This ensures us that we have some clinical experience coming to the app as well as the clinics because we want to reduce the incidence of malpractice or malnegligence that might be. Once the doctor reaches out to us, we first send them a link of an online learning management system, which is called OLP. It has 14 courses that the doctor has to self-take and pass. The doctors who score 60% and above, they then get interviewed by the HR person and then by a medical coordinator. We verify their medical degree. We pass their data through the Pakistan Medical and Dental Council website, which is a very interactive website. Once we know that all their medical degrees are legitimate, that is when we bring them on the platform. Now, on the platform, they get access to 3 trainings, which is on telemedicine, communication, as well as empathy towards the patient. And every month, there are 2 CMEs that are self-arranged by the community of doctors for continuous education and building.
Terrific. Was there another question? Lisa, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thanks. I'll get this question in quick from a timing perspective, but just having gone through the pandemic and scaling your business overnight, what did you learn going through COVID for your business?
I think the biggest thing I realized, Lisa, and thank you for the question. I think the biggest thing I realized was trust on a doctor is extremely important. Pre-pandemic, Pakistan was a country that depended on physical doctors, but Pakistan is also a country where there's one doctor for 1,700 people. Unless we take use of technology, we will never be able to bridge the gap between doctors and patients in Pakistan. So what I realized was then when we were pushed into this technical disruption within the country, and when physical doctors became risky, the patient's trust increased on our application as well as others. And once more and more people started trying telemedicine applications or virtual healthcare, they actually realized that it can be as good or even better as a physical healthcare. I'll just give you an example. The average doctor-patient consultation time in Pakistan is 120 seconds. On our app, the doctor-patient consultation time is 18 minutes. 18 minutes because the patient's history is taken, the examination details are taken, and they're given valued advice. 93% of our patients says that the time spent between them and the doctor is something that they value most when they come on the platform. So I believe my biggest learning is that whether it's a virtual or a physical platform, if the doctor talks to the patient with empathy and gives them time, that is where quality of care changes for the patient.
Sara, thank you so much. And thank you to all of our awardees and experts. What an inspiring group of women. Once again, just want to thank everybody. I hope you can see why I'd come back year after year after year for this program. The work that everyone is doing to change the world is incredibly inspiring. Leslie, let's bring up all our awardees one last time. We are now going to enter the voting portion of the pitch contest. So now is your chance to cast your vote for one of these awardees to win $20,000. So think about who inspired you, who is changing the world the way you want them to change the world, now is your chance. There should be a poll popping up in just a moment on your screens. So go ahead and in the poll, let us know which of the awardees you would like to see this money go to. Make sure to cast your vote. And then I'm going to hand it over to Elise to announce the winner. Elise, let's go ahead and bring you on.
Congratulations to all of you. You were fabulous, fabulous. And we are just doing the voting right now. But let me tell you, I was inspired by each of you. So proud. 30 more seconds, I'm being told, until we get the big news. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity this year to announce the winner because, of course, our wonderful host, Generous, who has given the financial support for this honoree, Diane von Furstenberg, is not here, so I get the wonderful job of announcing the winner, and we are just a few seconds away. I feel like we need some countdown music, but I will just say that all of you are truly winners, extraordinary, and I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to really hear it right from you. So beautiful pitches. And we are waiting still for everyone to vote. There's a little delay, but it's coming along. Okay, and the winner of the $20,000 grant from Diane von Furstenberg to take her business forward is Funto. Congratulations. Yes, it's you. Would you like to say a few words? You're on mute. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes. Oh my God, I am so honored. The privilege, I mean, thank you everyone who voted. But I stand shoulder to shoulder with 4 other phenomenal women who are changing the world and who are change makers. And I'm just so honored, so humbled. And thank you so much to Vital Voices, I'm about to start crying, but thank you so much, everybody. Oh my God, I didn't even, thank you. Oh my God, thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And I have to say, you are all phenomenal. And because you are all phenomenal, we're actually giving all of the other 4 honorees a grant for $5,000 to thank you for the incredible work that you do and to recognize that even taking a week away to be part of the We Empower Challenge is a lot. And we want to continue to invest in you as a leader and in the growth of your business. Thank you so very much to all of you who have joined us today for our 4th annual pitch night. We hope to be back in person, as I said, next year. And we actually would love to get all of the past honorees together next year. We've been talking about how extraordinary it would be to have all 21 of our honorees together in person to connect, because you are truly a phenomenal group. I want to thank our partners, the amazing judges. Thank you to each of you. And to the phenomenal Stephanie Mehta. Thank you again. And thank you all for joining us. We will see you again next year. Take care. Congratulations.